Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about the Treaty of Greenville and the Battle of Fallen Timbers. So let me get to the page. I have these two pages from the textbook put into the slides so you can look back at these even after the video, and you can see them a little bit bigger than what you're going to be able to see them in the video right now. But you'll be able to look back at these for information if needed. All right, so it's really important to understand the lesson from yesterday before we really get into the lesson for today. So I encourage you, if you don't remember the lesson yesterday or if you don't understand the lesson from yesterday, to go back through those slides quickly and maybe look at the notes that you took. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a recap. So after the Revolutionary War, Great Britain gave up their land to the colonists. And part of the land that Great Britain owned was the land between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River. This land was given up to the Native Americans after Pontiac's Rebellion to settle conflict between the colonists and Native Americans. And this they called this the Proclamation. So they had the proclamation lines drawn after the 13 colonies. So at this time, in that land that Great Britain had to then give up to the colonists, that was where a lot of Native Americans were living, as well as some colonists too that broke the rules. So going forward, there's now conflict. The Native Americans were not happy that the colonists, or now they're called pioneers, are moving into their land that was set aside for them under Britain's government. So let's read about the Battle of Fallen Timbers. One of the Native American groups that fought against the pioneers was the Miami. Little Turtle, a Miami chief, led a group of the Shawnee, the Delaware, and the Wyandot against American soldiers. In 1791, the United States Army attacked the Miami village of Kikinoga. Little Turtle and more than 1,000 Native Americans defeated or won against the American soldiers in the fight. Today, the city of Fort Wayne is located where Kikinoga once stood. Fort Wayne is up north of us. Anthony Wayne. American General Anthony Wayne, who had become a leader during the Revolutionary War, led part of the United States Army against the Native Americans. He built forts and trained the American Army in western Ohio. His men called him Mad Anthony because he was not afraid to take risks. Little Turtle heard about General Wayne's strong leadership. He called Anthony Wayne the chief who never sleeps. In 1794, General Wayne's army fought the Miami without the leadership of Little Turtle. Remember that they're fighting once again because now the colonists, or they're calling them pioneers, the colonists that are moving into this territory, they have a right to be in that land. They won it in the war. Britain gave it up to them. But Britain had that land set aside for the Native Americans. So now Native Americans are getting upset that the colonists or the pioneers are moving into that land. So this is why they're fighting. The Battle of Fallen Timbers took place along the Maumee River in Ohio at the spot where a tornado had knocked down many trees. Makes sense that it's called the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Timbers are those trees. General Wayne's army had many more soldiers than the Native Americans. Because of this, General Wayne's troops defeated the Native Americans in about an hour. And at the bottom of the page, right over here, there is a little bit about the Chief Jean-Baptiste Richardville, if you want to read about him. The Treaty of Greenville. Remember, the word treaty, that's like an agreement between two sides. A lot of times a treaty ends a conflict. Okay, so let's remember that as we're talking about the Treaty of Greenville. The Treaty of Greenville. The Battle of Fallen Timbers led Little Turtle and other Native American leaders to sign the Treaty of Greenville on August 3rd, 1795. The treaty required the Native Americans to agree to give up land in the eastern part of the Northwest Territory. So we have the Northwest Territory that you can remember from yesterday. So this treaty made them give up the eastern part of that. So not the whole part of that Northwest Territory, but that eastern part there. In return, the United States promised to let Native Americans live in the western part of the territory. They also agreed to pay the Native Americans for the land they were giving up. Many Native American leaders refused to sign the treaty. They had hoped to keep all of their lands. On the other side, however, American settlers felt better after that and felt that the Northwest Territory was safer after the treaty was signed. The Treaty of Greenville was important. This is a part that I really want you to take away from the lesson today. The Treaty of Greenville was important because it established a firm boundary between land belonging to Native Americans and the United States. The new land in the Northwest Territory was open to American settlers. Okay, so the Treaty of Greenville eventually leads to Indiana becoming a state. So the way that they divided it up, Indiana now is on the west side of this Northwest Territory, but now there's starting to be boundaries. Okay, they're going to have to figure out how to divide up this land. Okay, so once again, the important part that I want you to really, really take away from this is, first of all, why were they fighting? And second of all, how did the battle and the Treaty of Greenville, how do you think this is eventually going to lead to Indiana becoming a state? It's all right here in this last paragraph. It really talks about the boundaries. It hits on how boundaries are now starting to be set and places are starting to be divided. Think about how that might help Indiana become a state. That's what you're going to be focusing on for the rest of the day. Please remember as you go through the slides that you do have an extension called Google Read and Write. It's a purple puzzle piece up at the top of your screen. Once you click on that extension and highlight any words on your page, it will read that aloud to you. So please use that if you're someone who is going to benefit from that, and let your teachers know if you have any questions. Other than that, have such a fun time learning. We'll see you tomorrow.